All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's class. Good evening.
Good evening,
sir.
Good evening,
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, sure. Good evening.
Okay. All right. So before we begin, I would like one or two people to give us their take home from the past class, what he or she learned and how it has been of help for you in your place of work or your facility. If anyone would like to say something, you can raise your hands and you'll be called upon to tell us what you learned from the last class.
You mean that don't solve the question. They go they solve, they come out, they solve the movement.
Mr. Innocent, can you please mute your mic? Or if you'd like to say something regarding the past class, that would be happy.
Okay.
Okay, so in absence of any take home from everyone, I guess we can commence with the class now.
Okay,
So,
all right.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone.
Okay.
All right. So I think we still have about 2 minutes to still have that recap section. I'm certain we all had learned something the last class about security management. We all handle different sites, and there's something that has been happening on our site, and I'm sure that will bend down or gain something for us to tackle that challenge, or something we've been doing wrongly, but we're able to find one or two in that regards. We really appreciate, even if it's just one, let us learn from you, please. We still have about 2 minutes to go, just 2 minutes, so that by 5:05, I'm certain we will start the class, please. Okay, I think I'm just do a random pick, but I'm certain we all had learned something in the last class and we will surely want to share. We all have a busy site, so there's always something that would have made improvement on continuous improvement. So with regards to security, yeah. So okay, I think we have Mr. Innocent. Thanks so much. Please kindly ride on. Right.
Good evening.
Yeah. Good evening.
One of my take home for the last class.
Chief, you're not audible enough. Oh, please.
I said one of my take home. One of my take home for the class was security being the core part which a facility manager
ought to be involved in, as it has to do with life, equipment, and materials of any organization. And secondly, I was able to get to know what AI and IoT really plays in the area of security. I think that was my take home for the last class.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I was certain I actually learned from that too, right? AI, remote technology, where we can always monitor our sites and really know how we could conduct security audits and every other thing attached to it. So with AI, everything is going global now. Thank you so much, Mr. Innocent. Uh, I really appreciate that your part. All right. Once again, good evening, everyone. It's a big privilege for me to be amongst everyone, that is every participant in this FMMC 25. And as we carry on, while we also not wait for others to join, but I'm certain they will also join the class, and subsequently they could also get to learn more from what we'll be doing, driving in today. My name is Udu Akudo, and I'm the facilitator for today. I may possibly have met a few. I'm trying to check the names. I mean, probably not go around now. Maybe on LinkedIn or in person in the last concluded Fields 01. But today we'll be learning about a critical aspect of facility management, which is the building life cycle management. Most of us have seen this.
Excuse me, sir.
This. Okay.
Sorry, your slide is not on. I don't know.
Yes,
Will
I
you
have
be
not
sharing your
shared
slide
it.
with us?
Okay. Let me just share.
Okay, all right.
No, I went to leave. Okay. I think it's still on. Okay. Please, can you confirm you can see my slides?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. So I'm certain most have heard of building life cycle management, and we've been wondering what it is. Probably we just got to know a little chunk of it, but this evening we'll be diving deep into what building life cycle management is all about. And then we'll consider a robust outlook of how, as facilities managers, we could always integrate the principles of building lifecycle management into our processes, right from the operational stage to strategic stage and also the tactical stage. My name is Udu Akudo once again. I'm also a facility management practitioner with 10 years experience across both administrative, business, operations, technical, and even in sustainability too. I've worked in a wide range of professions in QHSC, in MEP, welding and fabrication, and also project management, asset optimization. So, and I'm certain we have a slide. We could always go through my profile anytime. And my name still remains Udu Akudo, should you want to connect with me on LinkedIn. So building lifecycle management is an essential component of facility management, which has been said, and it's it always captures the entire building life cycle. It's not about just having a building on site, but what are the uh, the post, and also continuous improvements for that building to serve its function, because of every asset has its function, right? So it's always based on that function, its purpose, and we are certain that whatever we do on that asset, it should continuously deliver its gains over time, and that's what we're looking at. We have a couple of modules in this section. We have the life cycle cost and planning, we have the design and construction, we have the operation and maintenance management. Then we'll be seeing difference in decommissioning, disposal, what are the critical steps we need to take. We'll also be learning when should we dispose, when should we repair. We'll be looking at that. So, and there's always something that comes in every operations, which has to do with project management. Probably at the conclusion, it could be ad hoc, it could be green, it could be brown project. It's always the testing and commissioning. People always intertwine both with the same meaning, that testing is the same as commissioning, but to be seeing practical examples on why yet work together, but they are entirely different. And thereafter, we'll be seeing how we can manage a building with regards to its life cycle management. What are the parameters to capture while working on a project? Or for instance, you want to get an asset, what should we take into consideration? And so this is what we'll be looking at today as we kick off with introduction to building life cycle management. So we would start with what it entails, and thereafter we'll now go into each phases of building lifecycle management. So building lifecycle management refers to the process of managing a building's entire project lifecycle, from its initial planning and design to its operation, maintenance, decommissioning, and thereafter replacements. It could either be replaced, it could be upgraded. So, and it consists of two parts: the construction part and also the operations part. And each of these parts is fixed with certain variables to make sure that that project attains its purpose. During the construction part, a lot of work is always put into it, while it comes from the planning, the designing, and construction comes up, right? And after during the construction, a lot are always packed in it to make sure that whenever that project is handed over, it is duly done with the right documentation, so that whenever operation starts, thereafter it could be operated well and also maintained well. So it forms the critical part of every asset. A building is an asset. The things in them is also an asset, as long those things serves a purpose, a function, in order to meet the need on why it is being procured or why it's being raised. So the goal is to make sure that that asset serve its purpose, right? And from the initial stage, you've calculated and also envisaged how you will manage that asset to its purpose. As facility managers, it's not about just getting an asset on site. We make a requisition that I need to get certain asset. Maybe I want to purchase a 1.5 horsepower AC, which is 12,000 BTU, and you start making specifications. I need to get this on site. But what comes with that asset, that particular AC? Will it serve the purpose? How much will it cost for me to operate that unit? How much will it cost for me to maintain that unit? Should there be need for an upgrade? Is it possible for me to get that unit and be upgraded later on? All these things that we need to capture while working with an asset. And that comes with the entire building lifecycle management. So it's not about the critical assets inside a building, but also maintaining building that houses that asset. So we'll now go back to the phase of building lifecycle management. Here we have about 6 phases of building lifecycle management, and would be thorough with its explanation on what it entails with regards to building lifecycle management. The first, it starts with a planning and design stage. So we'll break down this stage and we're able to see what it entails. In every project, it comes with planning, right? And this planning is backed with a project brief, wherein either the stakeholder or the initiator, it could be a department and head, wants to provide a solution to a particular near miss or to a particular manual stage operations. And he is thinking of what should we do to make sure this is eradicated. At that time, it comes with a project brief, right? It comes with an objective statement of what really they want to attain. This is the problem, this is the issue, and we need something to eliminate that problem. So at that point of the planning, it comes to the project briefing with the statement, the objective statement. It comes with a lot of emphasis, the estimation for that project, what is our budget, was it captured during the capex? All these times are things that are being put into the planning stage. Then with all these ideas, it is now being visualized into a concept during the design stage. And that's why designing is always very, very key in every building lifecycle management, because of, if not interpreted well, this could be a problem thereafter. Why? Because of it involves a lot of planning inside that design stage. Most times you see many projects, they come up with budgets and they always exclude that part of consultancy fee, or for you to get a consultant in charge of that project. And that's where it becomes a problem. Because imagine you having a project of 100 million and the consultant is saying, okay, just give me maybe 5 million inside, and for you to make sure you have this project done. And there's a project contract given to the consultant that, okay, even after completion of this project, you are still liable for any mishap within 1 to 2 years. It's fine. But imagine running a project without a consultant, without having an experienced hands on it. And after spending 100 million, and due to change management, due to things, risks not envisaged, and you are spending up to 150 million, for instance. And even during operation and maintenance, you see a lot of slacks, a lot of issues. And now, within 6 months, there's operational cost, overhead cost of almost additional of 20 million. You could see issues that could arise without a consultant being part of the team, especially with sophisticated projects that need experienced hands. So at the time of design stages, consultant is always advised to be in that project, except if you have one who is vast and experienced in that particular field, because of during design stage, a lot of experienced hands are on deck. Yeah, the stakeholder is there, the engineers are there, the structural builders are there, MEPs are there, even contract guys are there, which could be the lawyers in charge of that particular firm, the procurement guys. So it's a collective effort and everyone's rubbing minds together. So during the design stage, it's very, very critical because of their contract to be made. And thereafter, there could be a template for RFP for vendors to send, or RFQ, or even a BOQ that states these are the materials we'll be using at every phase of the project. And these are the costs for it. These are percentage. Should there be any need for change? Because of in every project, there should be factored change. But if it's well designed, it's always minimal. But it's always good to factor change. There should be options. These are the options to get this done, but this is what best fits. And thereafter, drawings are being developed so that those visualizations can be interpreted and it can be used during the construction stage. And even before construction goes on to during design stage, it's always good for every facilities managers or the project manager to be involved in licenses that grant commencement of that project. so that there won't be issues or delay as per milestones which have to be covered. Now, after contract have been signed, probably the vendors are sending their technicals, they're sending their commercials, and they feel this particular vendor meets the technical ability and also meets our budget as per the commercial. Then this project is awarded to the vendor, right? And what goes follows next? The construction phase. This construction phase has a lot of management systems in them. I'll just give a few of these management systems. First, we start with safety. Safety management is always key in every construction site.
Mr.
Project
Ojak, sorry to cut you short. We can't see your slides.
It is stuck on one. It is stuck on one place.
Yes, it's been stuck on one page.
It's the beginning.
It's been stuck in steps in lifestyle cost analysis.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, is it still stuck?
It is stuck.
Okay. What we're gonna do? Okay, I'm coming. Let me try and reshare again. Let me just use this. I don't know why I'm having with my slides, but I just want you to confirm that it's currently at phases of building lifecycle management, please.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
All right. Okay, please, I'll just need to use this. It's not full screen, but I think I'll just need to use this. So during the construction phase, sorry for that, there we have a lot of management systems. We have the project management system, we have the safety management system, we have the change management systems, we have the HR or human capital management system, because we'll be dealing with people, we're dealing with consumables, you'll be dealing with equipment. And all these things are things that should be documented for with respect to we during the handover stage, right? So it's always good for us to document all these things. Everything you feel they are not applicable, but there are things you see in day-to-day actions on site should be documented. And we shouldn't also leave behind change, which I said earlier. During every construction, there are always little changes. And the way we document those changes are very key as facilities managers in respect to our professionalism, right? So before any actions are taken by the FM on site, this should be documented. For instance, maybe during the construction of probably a 3-story building, and on the second floor, you notice that there could be some issues with a particular space as per the square meter. Either it needs to be reduced or increased, and this will affect other fixtures in that particular floor. So before that should commence, proper documentation, email conversation. At first, there are drawings that had already been approved for use during construction. It should be amended, and it should still be communicated again that these are the changes, these are the reasons for the changes. Should we not make this change possible? These are the consequences, and these are the defects that it will later result into. So these are things we need to equip ourselves with and construction chain. So it comes with a lot of management systems and it comes with a lot of work. And I'll always advise every facilities manager, I'm certain probably would know what asset registers are. So at every stage in which assets are always moved into a particular building, this should be documented because of it becomes cumbersome, it becomes more like a
Can we
robust.
mute, please? Can we mute, please? Please mute your mics. Mute your mics, please.
You know that, you don't need to ask the man.
Okay. So sorry. I think we need to mute our mic. We should go through the classroom rules, and I didn't go through it because I feel we've had other classes and must have gone through them. There are a lot of explanation in this that we really need to take to heart and also practice them right on site, please. Thank you so much. So during the construction phase, it involves a lot of technicability, and the way we communicate, which is one of the core competency of FM, is our communications. So that before that project is being handed over, we are certain that everything that has been designed, everything that has been visualized to solve that particular problem was what was being worked on during the construction phase. And it's always important that we should take every documentation serious during the construction phase. So I was advising that it's always good to always take documentations early. For instance, the asset register, yes, the building is not in use, but there are certain features that has been inside the BOQ for use. So from there, we would always extract things that are supposed to be into that building. And from there, you can always develop the asset register. Because if you have to wait till when they hand the project over, it becomes a problem, because imagine you having plenty hands for you to work on each of the assets and document them. Because of in asset register, it comes with a lot. It comes with every items, each block, each areas, each space, with the specification of that particular asset. Okay, for instance, 1.5 horsepower AC. What is the brand? What is the serial number? What is the modem number? What is the tag number? So it comes with a lot. So we need to always act quick and proactive. And you know that most of all this information and document, when presented, it becomes a good one for our KPI to show that we are really following through with the process. And as long as we're making the process easy, which has to involve other departmental colleagues of ours, then they would always value our input. Because of facilities manager, they believe they shouldn't put in any input. The only time they should have anything to say is during the handover when they'll be managing the facilities. And imagine you managing a facility that is 60% wrong. It is with regards to the design, with regards to the operationability and the maintainability, becomes problem for us. So as long people start providing input at the early stage, and those input and advices works, then they can always count us worthy and see us as very important aspects of that particular organization. And that's what it really entails. So imagine a particular project has been concluded and they feel that, yes, maybe the engineer feels, okay, we need to go on to the next stage. It always comes with testing and commissioning. At times when the project is done, like, oh, we just have to just test and commission, then we'll do handover. But we should be certain that there are particular phases in which a building is being done, right from the planning stage and after operations till when there's an upgrade or there's disposal. So during the testing and commission, just like I said, people always feel testing and commission is the same. It's not the same. So they work hand in hand, but it's not the same. We'll use a case study, for instance, and the case study it's about uh, we've been using AC, so let's continue with AC, 1.5 horsepower AC. So this has been installed in a particular room, maybe in the conference room, for instance. And to the scope, they said, that's the contractor said, 1.5 horsepower AC will be fine. 2 knots, which is 2 pieces at diagonal ends, and they're about to test, right? So testing is always critical. Testing is about testing for functionality, right? It starts with technically and also administratively. First, technically, it starts with from which source was the AC power looped from? Was there a circuit breaker there? To test the breaker, is there a continuity test? The voltage to check, is it complete phase maybe a single phase or a three phase, then the multimeter is always used to check. You're doing the testing, it always deals with tests to check for functionality. What I've installed, is it really functioning? At times, you could always have factory errors. We don't know if it's working or not. It has just been installed. So at that point, you are testing, you are checking for functionality. That's what it's all about. And you doing those checks, administratively, you are documenting those checks. For instance, the circuit breaker, the mains has been powered to that unit, and from there you check the voltage, either a single phase or 200 volts or a three phase, which is a 415 volts. You check, and while checking, you see, okay, this did not reach the standard rating. Maybe it's 425 volts. This is too high. Or maybe it's too same. Maybe 400 volts. Okay, it's fine. At that point, we are documenting those readings. You are just testing, right? So testing is all about to check for functionality. What has been installed, is it functioning right? And not only checking if it is functioning right, what are the data collated from it? The voltage, the location of the space that has been installed, the dimension of that room, how many square meters, all these things are used to test to make sure that unit is working. There's sometimes you install a unit and before it starts cooling, it's supposed to, probably from the manufacturer manual, it's estimated that within the minutes of 5 to 10 minutes, then you're supposed to have a particular ambient temperature. But are you actually having those temperatures? That's when we now come to commissioning. So after you've checked for all that and you feel that those items that have been installed are working well, then you now power that unit. So after powering the unit, then you are commissioning that unit. Now you are now checking if that unit serve its purpose. So most times, some units may be installed, but it's not serving its purpose. It takes longer time before we start having that cooling in that room. That means it has not really served its purpose. Because from the manufacturer's manual, they've given us a time range in which that unit is supposed to serve that particular space within that time. So these are things we need to really take note of when doing testing and commissioning. They work together, but we need to know the difference. Testing is just to check for functionality. That's how it works. You check for functionality, and those data you're collecting, you are recording them down so that it can be referenced to should there be issues maybe in a couple of months' time. Then commissioning now is about if that particular unit or that particular asset is serving its purpose. Are you confirming that yes, it's working well? And the reason why we intend to carry out that project, that particular issue has been eliminated. That's when you can now say yes, it's commissioned. You are commissioning that particular project. And it's always good for us to have record of every test done and every comment during commissioning with eyewitnesses, either with the engineer or either someone at the internal office too. So it's always good for us to know the difference. They work together, but we should not try to mix them up. Testing is all about to check for functionality of every item installed. Is it the circuit breakers? Is it the power cable? Is it the AC switch? To test that yes, it's functioning well. But commissioning is to make sure that is it serving its purpose? Then we can now say yes, we've tested the particular asset and we've commissioned it that yes, it's serving its purpose. And from there, we could now have a continuous mode of making sure that that unit is being used periodically in respect to operations and maintenance, which will be, that's the next phase of a building life cycle management. It's all about operations and maintenance. And as facilities managers, there are a lot of scope with regards to operations and maintenance. So I may ask, how well do we carry out our operations on sites? And how well do we maintain our assets on site? There are different strategies to operations. So every site are distinct as per their mode of operations. But we should keep in mind that there's always one thing that is key. We should always have our mode of operations at heart. There are some units of ACs that we keep close cognizance with in the aspect of close monitoring. We know that these particular areas, they are the areas that generate revenue for that company. And it's not as if other spaces are not are left behind, but that's where it generates revenue. And we make sure that that unit is being prioritized. There are some units that we go to them and service them probably every month. Some would say every quarterly, maybe every 3 months and all that. But it's always good for us to know our business at heart, so that you're able to know how we can manage them effectively as per operations and maintenance. And as facilities manager, there are documentations that help us carry out operations well and maintenance. One of them is the SOP, that's the standard operating procedures of our own site, which is all about we understanding the process of our site. It's always good for us to always have documentations of our daily reporting, our weekly reporting, and even our monthly reporting too. With this, we can always have data collated for us to make harmful decisions in it. Our backup systems, or maybe mains, we should have documentations, report that has records of how data are being generated. So it's always good for us to know that during operations with regards to energy management, we should have data, we should have reporting, so that this can help us make decisions. And when we present this document to management, yes, they would know that this is the reason why facility manager A is saying this and is advising us not to go through this route. And our maintenance is very key. We've always had of the PPM. So it's always good for us to have a maintenance log, a maintenance plan on our site, and that's what it is. So after a building has been commissioned, we should always have documentations in place. As facilities managers, this is one aspect that could always weigh us down with respect to our time, which is documentation. So you could be up and running all day long, but do you know that every activity that you do needs to be documented, because of that is what would be made relevant as per how you would operate your site the next day and how you will maintain it the next day. Because it's from those data you're able to manage that particular building to fit its purpose. Documentations like the incident report. So should there be an incident a couple of months ago? Did you record that incident as per how it happened? What is the root cause? What is the solution for it? Were they picture evidences? These are things we need to incorporate into our building lifecycle management system. For instance, now as per operations, we should also be concerned about agreement, service level agreement as per that particular building. Do we have a copy of the SLA in our facility? So these are questions we should ask ourselves. When it comes to maintenance, there are some at times which we'll be learning. There are some maintenance that are called deferred maintenance, which we'll learn in other slides. Maintenance that are not attended to immediately. Maybe there could be little funds, or maybe the process to get it done, there could be delay and approvals. Do we document those maintenance so that we can always see them as backlogs? We'll go to them and send reminders on them so that those pending issues could be resolved. So it's always key for us to understand not just the basics of how to operate our site, but strategic ways, understanding how our site works, on how to maintain it, and also how to operate it efficiently. So imagine now we've used that particular unit, that 1.5 horsepower, so it's maybe 5 years. Over time, we've always serviced it. And there are some times that there are some locations that you could always service the unit, like I said, some are every month. Some could be 3 times in a year, just could be 4 times in a year, but there are always some certain periodical things like washing of the AC filter. Some could be every 2 weeks. So these are things we should put in place. And over time, that unit has worked over time, and we feel this is not giving us the required desire as per how to, as per the feedback on that particular unit on why it's really been installed. The problem, it has been used there for 5 to 10 years, and we feel okay, we need to upgrade that particular unit. We need to change it probably to a 2 horsepower or 2.5 to serve its purpose well. And based on added fixtures, added it's a boardroom, right? Added chairs have been put in there. We've refurbished the conference, the boardroom table to a more bigger one, and we've added some cabinets, and we feel that this is absorbing the cooling of that particular space, right? And we feel okay, we need to upgrade that particular unit. Then we can now understand that yes, this needs to be upgraded, and there are some particular things we need to also put in place. So while upgrading that particular unit, yet to follow that same procedure to make sure that that unit still serves its purpose, and there could be needs to change the direction of that particular AC unit. So these are things we consider, and while getting it, we should always keep in mind that it does not affect operations, and yet it's still serving its purpose. So we should always keep in mind the usefulness of that unit. So let us now go to building. We've talked about assets in the building, but let's go to the building. When it comes to innovations, we should always be at our game, proactive in making sure that whenever renovations are being done, our work should not be interfered with governmental authorities because we flag some particular licenses or maybe some documentation, some statutory act purpose to make sure that renovation takes place. So we should ask questions. We should go back to the consultant if needs be on what are the things we need to do, what are the documentation in place, what are the licenses to make sure that particular renovations are done effectively without any form of disturbance from the statutory regulatory. So it's always good for always being proactive in everything we are doing. We should not be shy to ask questions. We should always learn from others. We should always see opportunities to show our professionalism in the way we interact with other members of probably in that setup. Then we can now know how we can always impute, how we can always enable the system while we are there as facilities managers. And after the innovation and upgrade stage, then we'll now go to, okay, either we should decommission this unit or we should dispose this unit. So we need to also understand the decommissioning and disposal. At times, a unit could be decommissioned, right, but can be used in another space. Some could be decommissioned and disposed. So regardless of the after event of that particular asset, you'll be certain that when decommissioning a unit, we should always think of factors related to how we can make sure that unit is also serving its purpose where it's being taken to. Or if it's being disposed, is it being disposed properly? Is it being documented? Is it being placed on auction? The replacement value, does it really serve its purpose? Which you'll be looking at other factors with respect to disposal. So if a particular unit is purchased for possibly 200,000 and maybe after 5 to 10 years, I want to replace it with an upgrade and I'm having a cost of 500,000. How do I factor in that, yes, that unit have served me for its purpose and the new one I'm getting is also going to serve me, and it's something that the process will always continue. So these are things we need to put in mind with regards to building lifecycle management, either the building itself or assets. We should always think about what is this asset giving me? What is the value it's giving me? I'm setting up the value, right? Okay, how can I plan for that asset to be utilized? So it starts from the planning stage to the construction stage to the testing and commissioning, to the operation and maintenance, renovation and upgrade, and also the commissioning and disposal. And while getting a new asset, so it starts all over again. That's why it's a cycle, right? So based on those documentation you've kept over time, those logs, then you can now extract data for it to be more easy and operations to be more seamless while continuing the process all over again. That's why documentation is always key in every stage of the building life cycle management. We've talked about building life cycle. So we're talking about the benefits of building life cycle management. One, it increased efficiency to streamline operations and also reduce maintenance overhead costs. We made mention of this in a simple illustration of why not getting a consultant into the team while starting a project. At times when we don't get them in, there are some projects that we could always find a way through and we do them ourselves. But when it's something new, we could even get from the main contractor. Yes. So and that could the cost could be valued in inside the BOQ. So these are things we need to be proactive in. We understanding the process of managing every building life cycle management. It also minimize potential risks and elevates compliance management system. It is data driven to decision making. We've said all this. Data are always key. So in every phases of the building life cycle, it's good to document those data. At times, you could feel those data are irrelevant, but as long we know these documents are things that we use in our operations. They are things that after the building has been handed over to a facility management company, or maybe there's an in-house FM, these are documents that he puts in place. But if we are involved at the initial stage, it will be easy for us to start collating those documents gradually, and we start using those data in them during the construction phase, during the operational and maintenance stage, and even when we eventually dispose the assets. It also improves asset utilization for building performance, optimization, and lifespan expansion. So in summary, every handover of information during a project is where waste occurs. There's always reworks, there's always loss of data, but this can be avoided with building lifecycle management because of all those data are already in place, right? And it is built up with different minds, different professions, different individuals with different mindsets as per how they can make that project work. So it is not just a regular data, it's a decision-making data, it's decision-driven as per those data are collected. And that's why it's good for us to work closely with regards to every professional while working on that particular project. So it's always avoids overhead costs, and most times it always ensures that the process is being followed through. So imagine if there's a team of maybe 5 or 6 building manager, the project manager, the facility manager, and we have the other engineers on site. So when they work closely together, this is always important because of data are always generated as per ideas being shared. And with those data during the construction phase or when working together, because over times, imagine you working on a BOQ that has been presented by a client, that is by a vendor or contractor, and you go to site for inspection maybe once in a week, for instance, and you see that some things are not there, it becomes a problem. But as long those documents are available, those processes are there, it's always easy for you to streamline and also run through what it is needed to be done in that particular project. And that's why building life cycle make sure that everything is complete right from the design stage to completion, and even when that particular asset is being disposed. So this is a business concept of life cycle planning. It's very key and important because life cycle planning has more to do with every asset, right? It's always important that as facilities managers, we should always think far. You know, we have different aspects of our businesses, right? And some are on the client side and some are always providing services. So you should look at what value am I bringing to the business? What's the core nature of that business? Some could be based on product, maybe in a manufacturing firm. Some could just be asset management. Some could just be project management. There are some facilities that deal with projects. Some are about customer life cycle as per how they can make sure that that business grows. You know, at times when probably in a mall, and people are like, why is this place not cooling too well? Why is this light bad? It's flickering. Who do they tend to call? They call the facility manager. Why? Because of he is there and in charge in order to satisfy the customers, right? And as per change too, we should always understand how it is. So we'll break it down and we're able to see what are the business concepts of life cycle planning as facilities manager. What are we giving out? With regards to product life cycle, it is always good that for a facility manager to be proactive in the design phase of that particular business. In production, is he able to understand how production is being done? In marketing, in customer feedback, because these are always important in his own process. So if you are in this kind of setup and you understand how this process are being done, it's easy for you to generate documentation to monitor and also improve that particular process. What of in assets? Maybe you're working with a procurement firm, and these are things they need. They need to always acquire things, maybe requisition, and they need to always follow up and make sure that what is being required, what is being purchased should be operated well and maintained well, like probably in a fintech setting, right? And you're in charge of maybe field services, going out there to operate probably POS or these devices for IoT to be more effective. So these are things you need to think in a way of how can I enable the business with respect to this category of actions I need to take. What of in project management? Certainly we are probably used to this 5 phase: the initiation stage, the planning stage, the execution stage, the monitoring stage, and the closure stage. How can I be effective in each of these stages? And that's why the narrative is changing. It's not like facilities managers should be at the tail end upon project completion or closure. No, they should start with that project. They could either be enablers, that is either they drive that process, or they just provide input. Most times they're only providing input at the initial stage. But when it comes to handover, yes, they are now driving the entire process. And that's how it is too with regards to customer lifecycle management, as per we detail with client relationship, with purchase awareness, with retention, and also the escalation. So if there's escalation of a particular service that is lingering, it's not serving its purpose. That's like the flickering bulb, a AC not cooling too well. We need to quickly de-escalate that issue to make sure that that particular asset is returned back to its purpose or returned back to its function. And also with regards to change lifecycle management. So how do we communicate? It's very, very key on our communications. We should be detailed, we should be specific, and this is very, very important with respect to we dealing with stakeholders too. And stakeholders engagement is very key. There's always something I'm always certain about. It's all about you managing your boss, right? So should there be change? How are you equipped for life data, life information? That things are happening. How are you communicating that issue or communicating that change at that time? Is always very, very key. So our communication is key. The way we train others on the job is key. And that is why I always advise to we should not do the whole job. We should always be specific with what we do as per we training others to also put in for us so that we could always rest. Practice management is always a 24-hour service, 7 days in a week and 365 days in a year. But how do we train others so that they too can also be equipped for that role and we could always have the same rate? So these are change in respect to we making sure that our services, our professionalism is always key. And this is the business aspect of it. As facility managers, we are also the business owners of where we are working, right? So we need to always be proactive in what we do. We should always think far. And with this, as long as our customers are satisfied, then we are certain that we are doing our job. And one of the important documents is always the customer feedback form. Some are always sent maybe monthly, some quarterly, some biannual. It's always key for us to have these documents. And even if we are in-house FMs, we should always share with our colleagues. Let them always rate us. Not that they are actually making our work look like we're not doing well, apart from the appraisal, but it shows that we need to up our game. These are some specific categories or locations we've not really been active on. So it's always good for us to understand the business concept of life cycle planning. Then we'll be talking about BEAM. BEAM is a tool, right? So we've heard of BEAMs, and it's also an automated system in building life cycle management. And the world is going technological in aspect of AI, in IoT, and also building visualization. And that is one key aspect of technology. Well, I'm certain we'll know what FM is. It's the integration of people, place, processes, and technology. And in technology, one aspect which we are all looking forward to is automating our buildings for it to be smart, right? And this is one part of it for us to introduce technology into our building system. So we're seeing the merits, we'll be seeing the demerits, and also should keep in mind too the aspect of how we can draft business cases, how we can send to stakeholders, our line managers on why they should integrate technology into their processes for the building, for it to be seamless and for it to work on. So just now we'll be talking about BIM, building information modeling. What is it all about? It's an holistic process of and managing information for a built asset based on an intellectual model that enables users to interact by cloud platform in a structured and multidisciplinary form to produce digital data presentation of an asset across its life cycle, right from the planning, designing to construction, operations, and maintenance. So we can see what BIM is all about. It's user-friendly, and also you could, each users could always work different profession can always work across the world. You could always communicate on that particular model. And there you can see architects can work on it, surveyors, engineers, and even the building owners themselves. So what are some trends, some basic trends we've seen? We've seen AI. I know the artificial intelligence is not new to us with regards to machine learning. We've seen Internet of Things, the IoT, some buildings today, they use IoT as per communication, remote monitoring, and also with sensors. So we've seen cloud-based collaboration, we've seen augmented and virtual reality, and we've even seen BIM for infrastructural development, and even BIM for facilities management. And these has been the modern trends. I know in this part of the world now, we are more used to IoTs and sensors. Yes, we are more used to that in remote training, in either fuel system, water system, how we monitor, even with regards to energy management. So, but this is just extract of how beams functions, and these are the normal trends. But what are the challenges? First is that it's only expert-led deficiency, as per only experts can use it. It has different tools, different functions. Have you guys worked on AutoCAD, Premiere, and all that? You could see numerous functions, numerous tools that are in those softwares, right? And if you're not trained, you can't work on it, right? And most times people go through YouTube to work on those things, to learn. But BIM requires an expert teaching a subordinate on how to use those tools and how to use those softwares. And it's always a deficiency, is a challenge for us because most of these experts are limited. And most times the cost for those tools are way, way more expensive. And people will feel there is no need, let's go through the manual way of getting this done. And also on that one is time management. And that one is time management. Reduce client demand and also project size relevant. Which time consumption for you to integrate all this. So imagine you setting up an asset register of maybe 5 to 7 story buildings with assets in them, and you are trying to integrate all this into the BIM structure. It's time consuming, and it involves different hands to make sure that that job is being done. Because it involves different map work, different engineering work, different structuring work, and those guys will work on those BIM together. So these are the challenges we face on BIM, but we should be certain that as long as we are determined to learn, and we'll surely get our hands handy to get that done. Yes, cost of learning could be expensive, but as long one is determined to route into that particular progressive career, then it's something that we could always gain from and see it as probably a long or short-term goal to get that done. So these are the challenges we see with regards to BIM, but we are certain that with time, we would surely as technology simplifies all these tools, we will surely get the best out of it. Module 2 talks about the life cycle cost and planning. So we'll just go for a short break. Please, let's go for a short break. In 5 minutes, that's 6:03, we'll be back while we'll continue on what is life cycle costing, please. Life cycle costing. Thank you. Okay. I mean, all right. We're back. So we'll just quickly do a recap. I know we have a lot of information being shared, but what we discussed was about the phases of building life cycle management and what we need to put in place to make sure that those phases are well equipped. Because should we want to make reference back to them, maybe after job completion, we could always get that handy with respect to documentations and key things we need to prioritize as per make sure that that project is being done effectively. So that was what we spoke about, and we spoke about BIM, building information management, and modeling. And we've seen how important it is for us to have the skill. It could be cost effective, that is cost, it could be high on cost, but still effective when we get that particular skill. It's a soft skill, and imagine having that when we have limited and spending when we have advanced technology. So the building information modeling is always key. So now we're talking about the life cycle costs and planning. What does it entail? It can also be referred to as the whole life cost, which is the process of estimating how much money you would spend on an asset over the course of its useful life. The life cycle costing covers an asset cost from the time it's been purchased to the time we get rid of it, either to dispose it or probably just to decommission it or to upgrade it. So we should always note that every asset has its commitments as per what it entails. So it's not about just having a fixed cost on the cost to purchase that particular asset, but it has other operational costs to it, which we'll be looking at some of those parameters as per that cost. So we have an example of a car, and when we purchase a car, we should also think about other cost implications like the car insurance, cost of gas, where we change the oil, and also every necessary maintenance that could be done on that car. So when we are just fixed on just buying a car, it becomes a problem. So it's not about purchasing a car, it's not about just getting uh, uh, being mobile, but how can we maintain that particular asset, which is a car in this case study, and that's what life cycle costing is all about. So what is the principle behind it? It recognizes that facility development project begins at the pre-planning stage and is completed when the asset is sold or the site returned to its original condition. So it examines the full cost of each project component across the life of a project rather than just to choose the cheapest option, right? This may mean a higher initial cost, but lead to a reduced ongoing operational maintenance and even disposal cost. So at times, when you present three invoices for a particular project to be done, and management seem to go for the cheapest one, that could not be realistic and the best option if that does not meet all the required uh, technical abilities and also criteria that those guys are professional to do the job. So if they met all needs, then we can say yes. So it's not about just choosing the cheapest option, but can really serve you. For instance, now we'll be mention of the AC units, right? And most times I wouldn't want to mention brand, but we know that there are some brands that we cannot install them in heavy duty areas like maybe the server room or maybe the mall. You understand? There are some that they are rugged for that particular purpose, but they are expensive, right? And we feel that we should go for the cheapest one because, and that's what our budgets can work on. No, that does not warrant we going through. So we should always think ahead of every options to meet that particular need. Yes, will it serve the purpose? Not just for a year or two, 5 to 10 years, will it still serve its purpose? And that's what really counts. We should always consider the economic and financial costs associated with constructing, procuring, operating a facility at the level it was initially planned. So most times as facility manager, we come up with OPEX and CAPEX, and this budget has been approved by top management. So when operating that building or during the construction stage, the BOQ, did they stick to every payment at tranche? That is, maybe the project manager or the contractor, they've had a contract that a milestone, a certain amount of cost that will be paid to that particular contractor. Are they managing that particular budget for each of those milestones to be covered? So these are things we need to track and make sure that it has an overall effectiveness in managing that assets as per the strategy we put in it. So that's all about the principle behind life cycle costing. And we need to also understand how we can develop that plan. We've seen what it's all about, but how can we develop it? What are the functions or parameters used? A life cycle cost plan processes of assessment to help asset owners better predict how much the business will pay when acquiring that asset, right? And what are those things? The concept and definition, the design and development, what are the costs attached to it, the manufacturing and installation costs, the maintenance costs, the support series. You may ask, what's they mean by support series? For instance, we could have contracts with one of these OEMs with respect to our AC units, right? And say, okay, every 3 months, please come to a deep cleaning of the indoor and outdoor units. So cost for servicing contracts, these are things that we should also capture in it. Then if we are to retire that assets and dispose it, it comes with a cost. So yes, we'll be having returns from the person acquiring it, but it comes with a cost. Cost as per, did this asset really serve me? What are the total maintenance costs in it, right? And if we are to put out this asset out there, if it's eventually disposed, the cost of disposal, is it 50% margin marked up to get a newer one at a higher upgrade? Because of when you are getting an upgrade or a new asset, it comes with a higher cost, right? So we need to also factor in 5 years, how much will this asset cost in disposing, right? Will it factor we getting a new one if we are to make a sum up of those costs? So these are things we need to always capture with respect to the lifespan of every asset and also its life cycle. So it comes with a formula, right? And for this formula, there are parameters, their data will explain as per how it comes. This is standard function. It says life cycle costing is equals to initial cost plus present value of all recurring costs and minus present value of residual values. What's all these terms, these parameters, how do they function? It comes with an initial cost. We can say the initial cost covers the purchasing cost, the installation cost, and the commissioning cost. For instance, you get an AC on site, right? Cost of purchase, cost to install it, and also to commission it. You may ask, why would there be need for commissioning an AC on site? Why is a cost attached to it? There could be need that maybe I need to top up the gas. Yes, the refrigerant in there. Some comes in a standard volume, but there could be need. There are no, it's always in bulk production. The production is always in bulk, so there could be need to top up the gas. It's not as if there won't be gas in there. It's not as if the gas in there won't serve, but after using the manifold gauge, did the gas level, the refrigerant level, did it meet the standard for that unit to operate efficiently? So these are the costs you need to cover. The second recurring cost, we cover the operational and maintenance expenses of that asset. It's always a recurring cost, right? Then the operating costs are associated with the usage of that asset. So if I'm to operate a 9,800 BTU split unit AC, that's a 1 horsepower AC, right? What is the cost to operate that unit? Am I paying for the kilowatt hour if it's from the grid? How much? What's the consumption in liter of diesel if it's a backup generator for me to operate that unit in maybe in an hour or two? So these are things we need to always function and factor in, because there are some units that will be turned on only during peak hours, maybe 8 to 5, then at night it's turned off. At times there are some units that are always turned on only at night as backup. So these are operating costs we need to always factor in. We need to understand the mathematics in it on their standard rating and standard calculations to get what are the operating costs of you running your facility. Yes, that's why when you have a record of consumption of your diesel every day, it's always good as facilities manager. We should always have a record of that. If we have officers or technicians, it's always based on peak hours and off-peak hours. Could be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. the next morning. What are the cost? What is the diesel level from my storage tank? What is the kilowatt hour as at those peak hours and off-peak hours? You do the calculation. It's just a simple deduction of uh, present minus previous, right? With that, you can be able to know which offices were functioning at that time. What is the load capacity at that time? So these are things you need to factor in. So we can only get that from those data you get daily from your site, right? We also have the maintenance costs, which are associated with repairs, replacements, and having the cost the line items of each, like it's simple to get this maintenance cost. Each of the parts of the unit, is it the fan, is it the blower, is it the evaporator, is it the condenser, each of the cost of those units, right? What is the cost to replace them? It's just you writing to your OEM or to your partners, I need a spare parts list and their costing with respect to this particular unit, and they send to you. From there you can always do a sum up and add a variation of maybe 5% in case there's any market increase or inflation over time. That's just the way it works. Then we also have the disposal cost, which we discussed about, and the residual cost, which presents the asset value at the end of its useful life. So that's are the parameters that makes up this formula with respect to life cycle cost. The initial cost plus present value of all recurring costs minus present value of residual value. And it's part of the assessment, which we'll do research on how we can apply this formula. We'll do research on getting questions and applying this formula to it so that we can see how it functions. There's also a parameter about percentage, which is always certain. It is a constant. When we do our research on questions related to life cycle cost, and then we'll see that particular parameter. Yet we'll also see these other functions in them. So it's also part of the assessment. So this is just a summary of the asset life cycle, which we've just talked on, but it's more comprehensive. We started from the design and construction stage. Every asset starts from there, and also how you operate them. It comes with drawings, it comes with SOPs, it comes with contracts, it comes with operation and maintenance log, it comes with a lot. So it depends on our site activities, know how it operates, then we can now function to that. Then should there be time for repair, we go back to our drawings as per either the 1D, the 2D, or the 3D technical drawing. Then we can always see how we can always troubleshoot. At times we could always see electrical panels, either our catalyzer or synchronization panel, without electrical drawing. This is a fault which we need to always correct and eliminate. We at times we can acquire those sites without those drawings, but we should always make sure that we get a backup drawing so that whenever there's need for repair or patch replacement, this could be done effectively. And then we'll talk about maintenance. We'll be talking very soon about the predictive maintenance, the conditioning based maintenance, and also we'll be talking about how we can keep inventory for maintenance, right? So that's also part of maintenance scope. So we keep inventory for them, we keep parts, that is their spare parts list, and even the cost for them. So that should we want to make any requisition, we can always date back to it, and that should always be updated either monthly or quarterly. Then should there be need for upgrade? That is also true. So we should always understand what entails for upgrade. At times, there could be need for upgrade in a particular system, and that upgrade is not possible. Why? Because of from the initial stage of the project, modification was not envisaged. They didn't put it in part of the planning. That's why at times when you see a mechanical pipe, probably an hydrant pipe, at the end of the pipe, there's always a flange, a blind flange. Why? Because of should there be an upgrade or modification, it's easy for them to tap from there or to look from there. So when planning projects or an asset to be brought on site, we should always think of, is there a required need or criteria that meets upgrading that unit if we are to retire that unit, is it something that we could always retire and have returns on them for us to get a higher model or higher grade? So these are things we need to think, and documentation comes with it. It's not about just retiring an asset, either disposing it or maybe just decommissioning it. We should also document that process. It is always key. Documentation as per the current value of that asset, how much are you disposing it for, right? The name of the person acquiring that asset, is it serving its purpose where it to be used, or it just retired for it to be abandoned? Every information about that asset should be put in place. Then if there's need to also have contracts, yes, that okay, change of ownership. These are things we need to follow and make sure that all these things are being documented as we operate our facility. So this is a life cycle cost analysis, which it's more like a cycle and a summary of how it is from the initial cost to the service cost to the maintenance cost, right? To the operating costs and also to the disposal cost. So, and which will be looking steps we can achieve that. First, by establishing objectives, by identifying constraints and specifying assumptions. We should also define base case and identify alternative. We should set analysis period. We should analyze traffic effects. We should estimate benefits and costs. We should evaluate risks. We should compare the net benefit and rank alternative. We should also make recommendations. So this is trying to let us know that for you to get an asset on site, we should understand what is the basis of that asset. What are the pros and cons of that asset? What is their main objective in getting those assets? Is it possible for us to get spares with that asset whenever there is breakdown? The traffic effects. It is always very important in every asset, right? The usage is always key, and we should have plans for those uses. For instance, now if in a commercial building where we have offices and there are issues with a particular asset, is it easy for us to assess that asset and also rectify that problem? For instance, now in a studio where there's production, live shows going on, and the HVAC unit is embedded inside the gypsum board, inside the roof, and that unit needs to be washed. The filters are inside the roof. Is it possible to get that done, or we have to wait till when production is off? So these are things you need to analyze when it comes to life cycle cost analysis, like the cost of getting that, the means of getting that asset. Is it serving its purpose, and how will it benefit us over time? What are the risks associated with it? The benefit of it, and we should always have alternative. And that is why, as facilities manager, we should have options. We shouldn't just narrow our mind to a particular solution. We should have 2 to 3 options so that whenever we present those options, yes, the management, the stakeholders, they can make their own decision on those options. These are the merit of option A, these are the merit of option B, but this is the demerit of option C. These are being based on decisions, and that's when it is cost implicated as per we making a commitment to a particular asset to get and eventually having issues with them. So we should always understand this step. Our objective is very key. So what are the guidelines? Lifecycle guidelines include identifying, comparing, optimizing, quantifying, monitoring, and reviewing. I'm always concerned about monitoring and reviewing. Why? Because things change. There's always change. There's what we call the change management is always there, and you need to always monitor, review, and do continuous improvement. And this can only be gotten from your day-to-day data, right? From your day-to-day data as per if that will serve its purpose or its function. Life cycle costing is always very important in project development, in valuation of annual costs, in energy management process, because of it deals with data, right? Your costs at times, and just like we've learned in our professional learning, there are certain period of time that the cost to run your power from the grid is more effective and more costs reduced to run on backup generators. There are sometimes that instead of you falling on backup generators, we have the backup system from the renewables. So you need to understand this cost analysis. When is it best for me to power up my facility with the grid power, or is it with the diesel power that is from the diesel generator backup power, or from our renewables if we have them on site? So these are values and data we can get with respect to our life cycle cost. So it helps us manage our process and help us have a total cost of how we've run our facility, either quarterly or annually. And this could be generated from our monthly report. Cost for operating a particular unit, cost for maintaining a particular, that is cost for electrical work, cost for NEPA lights if it's from the grid, cost of, if at times we have renewable energy contractors that they sell this power to us, right? What are the costs? What are the megawatts that is being generated every month? When we evaluate all these costs, then we can really know where our financial burdens are. Then we can now prioritize when we should do kind of a load shedding with respect to our costs and also consumption. So that's those data that we really need. And it starts from our documentations. I made a few mention of some documentations, and we'll also share templates of those documents. So thereafter the class, because of these are guides, and we should also plan to also develop apps too to meet our site's function. So these life cycle cost guidelines, first identifying cost of initial investment, operation maintenance, and also disposal costs, and comparing cost for decision-making strategies that affect the entire lifespan of the assets, calculating the cost due to inflation and financial risks impacted on the asset value, optimizing the operational excellence of day-to-day operation and maintenance costs, regular monitoring costs and performance to ensure estimates are accurate. So it's always good for us to keep in mind that life cycle costs, its guidelines help us monitor our processes, our day-to-day activities on site, right? And whenever they are missing data, because of we've been working on them for a couple of months, we can always generate them back because of we've seen the trends, we've seen how it works, and we've said that okay, this is what is missing here, and from there we can always make a decision. So, what are the benefits? First, cost evaluation. It's also a good one for good investment decision while making. You have to see ways in which you can also mitigate risks, cost optimization, environmental impact, and sustainability focus, asset management improvements. That is your asset on site. It improves the way in which you get involved in it uh, as per operational costs. Every asset has its management principle. A particular asset functions different from the other. What are the strategies I use in managing that particular asset, right? And also, which is having more cost implications over time. But when you evaluate the life cycle, its principles, then you can see that every asset has its way of, it has a governing way of making sure that it's being managed. It's cost. At times, we'll say facilities manager is cost centered, but that is only interpreted in a way when resources are always put inside facilities management alone. There's no vivid reason why there is financial management in it, right? And that is very, very key as facilities managers. For instance, now there's a bulb flickering, right? And the next thing to do is to put for a replacement. We change the bulb. That's probably an LED bulb, maybe 18 watts panel surface bulb, and you've not really ascertained what really is always making sure that that LED bulb is going bad, right? Is it the choke that is always going bad, or is the bulb itself, or the panel lights? You understand? But if there are traces and evidence that a particular asset, right, a particular asset is going bad, but you're not making requisition to replace it, and the next day or that same time they are seeing a new one there. They feel it's a new one, but they don't know that is a old one, right? Another one that has been kept as spare. What you need to do was just to change the choke for it to come over. You can see that you are managing that asset and you are improving its structure. And you can also see that you are reducing costs with regards to that. So that's how life cycle costing is all about. Long-term saving and cost efficiency, which I've just explained now. So in the long term, you're saving costs. So instead of you change the LED light bulb every time, right? You have them in stock. You are able to confirm either with the help of your technician that okay, which is bad? Is it a choke? or the energy panel itself. And instead of you getting a new one, you're just taking another one. So instead of you spending 4,500 for instance to change 18 watts bulb,
Oh, okay. See what's the
naira.
book loan? Okay, okay.
It's just going to be
40. Yes, you
So
said
it's
so.
always key for us to understand the benefits of the lifestyle costing. Please, I would advise we mute our mics, please. Please. All right, thank you. So what are the risks? First, data collection accuracy and complexity. So when we don't start early, data collection becomes a problem, right? Cost prediction is always inaccurate. But when we have record of item purchase, this is the cost. And then we could always scale through that. But it's always good for us to always factor up that risk with respect to life cycle costing. And also subjective to cost assumption. That sometimes you want to make requisition or you want to work on a project and you're not certain of the cost. You go online, you check different websites, and you see some local vendors who are willing to give you a particular that same item at a cost. Then you're also comparing it to a vendor you've been working with who wants to supply it. So it is always subjected to assumptions because you'll be presenting this for approval and also to make sure that is being done well. So it has a little bit of risk as per the cost assumption, but that is only based if we are not being proactive to understand the process as per that life cycle costing. But if you act uh, in a way of we thinking ahead, then we can always avoid these risks. That's why we always have mitigative risks in aspect to our operation on site. When we think ahead, we can always prevent all these risks. But these are the risks that comes with it. But we can always be proactive at our jobs that won't be overtaken with these risks. One is lack of competent costing evaluator too. So at times, to get a competent hand to cost a particular project, which could be a bit of robust in the sense that it has different line items, and this could be a problem because there'll be multiple options, there'll be multiple line items, and this could affect the way we could cost for it. But it's same cool when we always try to think ahead of every line items on what is being presented for costing. Every items in every asset setting is always good for us. So these are just risk based, right? These are just risk based. But when we are being proactive at what we do as facilities manager, we can always find a simple and seamless way to get this over. When we start early, when we are being active enough on sites, when we have these data, then we can always make good decisions so that we won't be overtaken with all these risks. So we're in the design and construction, and we'll be discussing about the phases of designing and construction. They say every building project requires careful planning to succeed, right? And also it is important to find solutions to the right resources, the equipment, the timeline, the budget, and also risks associated with that development building life cycle. Well, as facilities managers, we are we also provide inputs, right, to stakeholders. So we should always um, change the narrative from just being at the back end or being at the end tail to always provide information at every phase of every project in a building, right from the planning, the designing, the execution, the evaluation to confirm that it's serving its purpose, then the completion, which could lead to handover. So we should always be proactive in all these things. So now we'll be looking at facilities managers' inputs during the design stage. We also look at it during the construction stage too. We won't be taking all, but we'll just take a handful of it. FM during the design stage monitors the team, right? They go in for inspection, they focus on the drawings, the designs, so that it's going to meet specifications. They also work with the contract documents so that they would know that what has been agreed and prepared on is what the team, the construction team, are ongoing, and the specification meets its purpose. We should always work with specifications, right? Some would say it's always not easy to work with specification because of how can I know measurements. Maybe one may not be good in engineering. At times, there are even some engineering guys that may not be good with measurement, but or how to interpret drawings. But you know that within a day, you can actually learn this. With a dedicated mindset, you could just be humble to ask questions and they will show you the basics. So you may not be able to draw, but you could be able to interpret, right? And so that when delivering on your job, yes, it always show that you understand and also be at the same pace with the engineers on site. And from there, you can always make your contributions and also seek for advice. So, but we should have to make sure that what was designed, the specification given, is what is being carried out on site. And also, what they do is also they participate in value engineering, uh, management reviews, and also make recommendations to resolve potential operation and maintenance problems. So you may ask, what is value engineering? So value engineering is all about making sure that every structure, every built system serve its purpose with respect uh, to specification that meets standard, right? At times you could wonder, why is it that in some high-rise building they don't use split unit, they only use conduits or probably the centralized unit, the HVAC system, because of that is what would serve the purpose. So imagine a 7-story building or 8-story building and you're installing a split unit there. Or just because I want to refill the refrigerant, or I want to wash the outdoor unit. Imagine the unit was purchased for instance, maybe now it's way more expensive, but if we are to make an assumption, maybe 400,000 and you're installing for 20,000, and just to service that unit, you are servicing the unit so that does not cost more than 10,000. But to go and rent a scaffold, renting a scaffold almost 250,000, does it make sense? So these are things that facility manager, they act as inputs with respect to making sure that the engineering in place serve its purpose, so that whenever I'm operating that building or maintaining it, there are some snags and some problems I should not encounter because I've evaluated these drawings, I've evaluated these designs, that there won't be issue during the operation and maintenance time, right? So you are evaluating the engineering, you are reviewing each drawing to make sure that yes, it meets its value, and that's what value engineering is all about. So they also review test procedures and also confirm those documentation which are produced by consulting engineers too. And they set up procedures for operation readiness program implementation and integrate into contract. What of during the construction phase? They also ensure that the quality assurance and commissioning activities are carried out in a logical, sequential, and efficient manner. They also work with the main contractors to make sure that everything is in good workings, it's of good standard, and it meets the specifications. They also perform site visits, inspections, and also observe every asset that is being installed during the construction phase. They also attend selected planning and job siting meetings to obtain information on construction, milestones, or progress. So it's always good for us to be involved during the design stage and also during the construction stage, as been seen below. Uh, it also involves commissioning tasks, which has to do with operational maintenance documentation, and also to work with the design team to make sure that everything that has been commissioned, they align and it meets its needs. So should there be change orders, that is, uh, maybe they are to uh, install a part that they are probably on the second story, that is on the second floor, they are to the design is equipped with, for instance, if it's a residential setup, is equipped with maybe 4 convenience area and they are changing the scope to 2 convenience area. So they have to review that change, that it meets the need of the end user, right? And even when they are doing those change, after it has been communicated and documented, does it also meet the maintainability standard? If I'm to now, because of a lot of structural defects would be there, and are they those snacks, are they really covering it so that whenever I want to maintain that building, it will really serve its purpose and there won't be issues after on. And even those changes, does it meet the client's objective? So these are things we need to really check. It's not as if the construction stage are going on and we are at the back end without seeing all this, because eventually after the project has been completed, we have to manage it, right? And managing is a building that is full of a lot of snacks, and um, to maintain such buildings, it becomes a problem. So we should always follow through during the construction stage. Also, to provide written progressive reports and test results with recommended action. So our report is always key, daily reports. We could always have a two-in-one report. So daily activities in that report, then At the tail end of that report, that is at the completion stage, we will now do a summary of that week. Then we'll put in those data so that it will just be one report. If we are to do it manually, but if should we have a CMMS on site, or probably a work tool, then we could always update it daily and also share with the client too. And lastly, they also review the preparation of the operation and maintenance manual for commission equipment and building components. So what of the post-construction stage? How can FM also provide input in it? So they assist with the pre-qualification and selection of FM service providers. So after the construction have been done and they need to hand this building over to a qualified FM service provider, they support in that. So if that FM has been involved during the design, during the planning, and also the construction stage. They also identify and solve problems concerning operating the building. They also identify areas that may come under warranty or under the original construction contract. So they have a long part with respect to play during the post-construction stage. Lastly, then they also provide effective maintenance and operational maintenance of that building system. So as facilities manager, we should be equipped in able to know our roles in each of these phases and see how we can implement them, monitor them, and even improve them. Should we have any lacking in it? So what are FM startup information? What should FM be concerned about while taking up the site? What are the things they need to have? If they take up a site and during handover they don't receive those documents, they have to build them from scratch. One is the vendors list. We should always ask for vendors. So vendors that work on that particular building, those guys have seen a lot of snags. They know how they were able to overcome some problem encountered. So we should always try to find those vendors that worked on that particular building over the years, right? We should have their contacts. We should also have the financial data of that building. Utility bills. We should also have site informations like the electrical DB distribution with respect to the connection, each circuit breaker, where does it serve? Should I want to isolate this particular area? What should I do? We should also have our service level agreement and what we are entailed to do in that particular building. Our equipment listing, our maintenance record. So I always advise facilities managers to have maintenance record of every asset, right? We should categorize them into sections as per AC maintenance log, our electrical maintenance log, our building maintenance log, our generator maintenance log. So should we have, anytime they work on a particular gen set, right, we should give detail of what really they did. Was it corrective maintenance or was it preventive maintenance? What did they really do on that generator set? Did they just change the oil or change the air filter or change the fuel filter? Did they wash the evaporator? So all those informations are things that are detailed. So that should there be an escalation or issue or that generator having problem, maybe after a week or the next day, then we can able to trace the fault and see how we can always treat it. So it's always for us to also have maintenance record in this regards. We should always follow through with building rules and regulations. So if my building to have some certain permits and licenses with respect to compliance, these are things we need to also look out while managing any facility. We should always have an incident report on our site. We should always have an emergency response and plan, business continuity plan, and most especially, we should always be safety conscious on our site. We should have safety programs. We should always check our safety fire equipment and see how that is up to date, if need for servicing or always checked. So it's always good for us to have this information on our site. It's not limited to this as per the extent site operations, but these are the key things we need to have on our site to make it operational. So we'll be talking now more on operations and maintenance. I'll be focusing on maintenance, right? Maintenance is always a big deal in every organization. Why? Because of we need to keep assets running with zero downtime, with uptime. So how can we make this possible? And that's what we're talking about, operations and maintenance. Overall, Procedures should include informations and steps for completing the day-to-day activities, right? And that's what operation is all about. So make sure that day-to-day activities are effective and safe for work. And to make that possible, we need to always have a good maintenance structure. So why is it important? First, it's always good to have an established information in place. So if I'm to carry out maintenance, you are maintaining the assets, right? So there should be information of that asset. It starts with there, and that is always advised that every facility manager should have asset registers on site. With that, you can always drive out informations and implement decisions based on that. And also, it's always important because of improved training, speed up onboarding, it sets standards, it also ensure compliance, and also prevent equipment failure. Operational maintenance is always key on site, and it has stages. First, your input, then the activity that has been carried on, then what is the output from it. And that's why it's always good that on site we should always understand how our site works so that we would always impute things that would be more effective and it will sustain that activity so that whatever output we get, we can always monitor and always improve. And that's what this chart is all about on maintenance, on operation and maintenance procedure. So we impute operation and maintenance procedure, right? And also training to our staff so that they would understand what it entails, what they need. At times, people always feel like the AC filter should only be washed once every 3 months. But you need to train them the need why they should always wash a specific filter maybe once in a month because of due to end users requirements. They are always there, it's always overcrowded, and it's always powered on most times maybe 10 to 12 hours a day, or at times even some are powered 24 hours, especially those in the server room. And why we should always see that as critical assets. So we should always provide training for them. There should be procedures on how they can undergo operations on site and how they can also maintain. So what are the activity? Conducting operation maintenance plans review. So when you impute them, you should always review them. We should always provide support. And also we should always upgrade the system if need be. And we should always see opportunities for us to collect data from every input, right? For instance, now, these data could be driven as per documenting issues regarding that particular asset. How do you know that, okay, I need to always watch these AC filters once in a month? There will be data collected, maybe how many times that the number of times the AC it has downtime, right? What's the cost of the downtime, right? And you are trying to make sure that you are eliminating that issue of that downtime on that particular unit. You are gaining information, collecting data that, okay, this particular unit, oh, I need to restructure it so that instead of me waiting once in 3 months, I'm doing it once every month so that that issue will not recur again. You understand? And there's some issue that maybe the drain line is always blocked, right? So these are activities you put in place to make sure that you achieve something reasonable, right? While maintaining and operating that asset. And the output, we can see that it comes out with the results. And those results are always documented. As facilities manager, yes, we are always operational on site, but we should always try to understand the administrative part of FM. We should always document our processes. We should always document everything so that whenever we want to make decisions or want to date back to issues as per incident reporting and recording all those data, it's easy for us to get data from them. And that's why our reporting should always be key. It's also a form of communicating to decision makers whenever we present them with any requirements on it. So this is our operation and maintenance review. It talks more about rescheduling assets. Yeah, it's so when we have a PPM, that is a plant maintenance, preventive maintenance, there's a plan to that, right? And that plan, most assets are scheduled for maintenance. So we should always keep up with those schedules. It's a program, it's a plan. So we always schedule of assets, operating manuals, and that program is always collated for more like a docket, when we'll be able to go through that particular docket and see information that we want. Information as per the scope of that particular of operating that asset, right? And also specification about what that asset entails. What is the serial number, the model number, what is the rating of that asset, the parts list, many things, just like it's being listed there. So these are things we go through. So every asset you have on site, right? It's based on a particular program as part like a docket. So it's like a docket with a lot of information for you to go to that asset, right? And you can always go through it when you have a standard asset register on site so that you can always collate them, you can always merge them, right? And you can always assign locations, you can always assign tags, you can always assign information to that particular asset so that when operating them, it's easy for you to, and when you want to troubleshoot for maintenance, so it's always easy for you to date back to it and see those information. So the maintenance plan should consist of strategy, schedules, and programs, procedures, which we just made mention of. Strategy, should it be reactive? Should it be PPM? Should it be predictive? So these are the plan you need to put in place depending on that particular asset so that there won't be much downtime and it's going to be in a structured manner. It will not be disarranged. You would always know that this particular month, this particular week, you're supposed to service this particular unit of AC. And it's based on you having a plan for it. So, and at times, based on the CMMS program now, which most facility manager have on site, there will always be a pop-up notification that maybe 24-hour notice that this particular unit needs to be serviced. So even though that unit filter has been washed a couple of days back, right, it still needs to be serviced because we still need to pressure wash both the indoor and outdoor unit to comply with that plan. So it's always good for us to have a plan for every asset on site. Then we'll now be looking at the difference between corrective and preventive maintenance. And then we can ask the type of corrective maintenance. So corrective maintenance is a type of maintenance don't correct a malfunction uh, uh, of assets, machinery, and system so that we can restore its good working condition. So an asset is down and you need to correct that asset to its original state. At that point, that immediate action is called corrective maintenance, right? But preventive maintenance, instead of you allowing that asset to break down, it's being done periodically so that that asset will not break down. You are preventing a breakdown from happening. So before that asset breaks down, there's a plan for you to work on that asset and service that asset so that it's working effectively. So it's a proactive measure to make sure that every asset is up and running, right? And it's always good for us to have a preventive maintenance plan on site so that before an asset break down, you're already on it to make sure that it's been done. And there are different type of maintenance. We know of the predictive too. Predictive is instead of you even having a periodic plan, you go through with certified monitoring device and sensors that gives you a breakdown of how that asset is performing, right? So it's an advanced level of preventive maintenance, but now you're dealing with sensors and you're dealing with monitoring devices from OEMs that knows and that sees the condition of that particular unit. So it's always good for us to adopt some units are always based on corrective, right? At times it could be the reactive maintenance or the breakdown maintenance, but there are some that are critical, some assets that are critical, which is always best we stick with preventive maintenance. We should always understand how that asset works so that we won't always leave it for breakdown, but always being proactive periodically while we service them. So we've talked about okay, the type of corrective. We have the breakdown maintenance, which we just discussed now, which could also be it's a type of corrective maintenance. So run down to failure. We could also see some maintenance called run down to failure. So it's only when it goes bad. For instance, the light bulb. It's only when it starts flickering then we could change it. Either the choke or the panel itself, right? So we cannot just change a light bulb except some conditions with some clients they feel that when the light bulb is active for a certain period of time, even though it's good, please, it's part of the contract. Please, you need to change them, right? So except on those cases, but on a regular case, most times there are some asset that is always when it goes bad, we change, right? So that's how breakdown maintenance is. Some would say it's a run down to failure, right? But deferred maintenance is a correct. it's a corrective maintenance based on when it's being postponed. We spoke about this. There are some issues that needs to be probably due to funds or no supplies or spare part available or manpower to get it done. And maybe it's in the middle of the night and the next morning it needs to be done, but before you get approval, it's going for another 24 hours or 42 hours and all 48 hours and all that. So, but it's always important as facilities manager, we always good for us to have a deferred maintenance sheet or report. Yes, it's always good to have a deferred maintenance sheet. They will always record pending issues on site. Yet, while we'll follow up for those maintenance. So at times there could be issue with a breakdown AC, HVAC compressor, right? And you know how much it costs for a compressor of 5 horsepower and all that. So before you get through with finance to get that approved or with top management, it's also another great deal. So we should always try to document those maintenance down, and it acts like backlogs, but we always go back to always make sure that we defer those maintenance, we rectify them by sending reminder emails or making sure that there is a temporary solution at that point, and that's what deferred maintenance is. So what are the maintenance plans? Documents includes troubleshooting instructions, maintenance task descriptions. So we should not feel that our technicians knows all or the vendor coming in knows all. We should always document and itemize uh, these uh, procedures in our maintenance plan. We should identify the spare parts to be used and also schedule for that particular maintenance. We should also have warranty information. So if there is a servicing contractor who is to work on that asset, we should also get that in place. Is part of the maintenance plan. And also if there's a checklist too, we should also get that in place too. But it's always good for us to understand the requirement for repair. This is a practical suggestion on how we can always be proactive as facilities managers. I will always advise FM to they should not just be stuck with uh, supervisory level, right? They should also be able to understand the job, if possible, know the job, ask questions, and see how they can also provide inputs when amongst top management or even within their technicians too. So there are always troubleshooting steps, right? With time, you will surely get them right on site if you are willing to. But maintenance repairs have steps to take so that you don't miss anyone or you, when troubleshooting, you get them all mixed up. First, be aware of a detected malfunction in the system. So when you go to inspect a unit and you see that it's not working well, probably a generator, a diesel generator, and you could see it's making a particular hissing sound, probably you just see that the vibration has changed, then you are aware of that particular problem, right? Then localize the defect to a specific equipment within that system. So you need to now trace what really is causing the problem, right? So if you are hearing a hissing noise or the vibration, or let's just take one fault for instance, that hissing noise, where exactly is it coming from? You know, the generator has two parts. The generator has the mechanical parts and also the alternator, the electrical part. So, but where exactly is coming from? What is the issue? You need to specify where that problem is. Then you need to diagnose the issue of a particular component within that equipment. Where exactly is it coming from? Then isolate, then diagnose. Then either we repair or replace that faulty part. So if it is open to repair, yeah, you can repair it, but if it is to replace, you replace that part. So align and calibrate the repaired or new parts in relation to the system. So at times there are some unit that needs to be recalibrated, right? But you can also say we need to test and commission that unit that yes, that it is fine and okay. You may not at first you could test during testing, then you could turn off the unit and test again, right? As you just make sure we align and make sure that what is being repaired is functioning well. Then we can now do proper cleanup, we clean and lubricate the equipment accordingly. Some would say housekeeping, the surrounding area, and to make sure that the job has been completed. Then validate performance before returning the system to service. So we need to now check that yes, the performance of that unit is fine. That hissing noise or sound is not there. Everything is back to normal. The vibration is no more there. Then we can now load that particular unit. So that is how troubleshooting work. You check where exactly this issue is coming from. You narrow your mind there, and you try to see how you could always isolate. Safety first, always isolate. After isolating, you work on the item, then you return it back to its function, then check that it's working well. Then you can now do housekeeping and return back the system to its purpose. So operational maintenance task performance, this is just a review. As per it refers to the process of evaluating how well routine maintenance tasks are being carried out within an operational system by analyzing the effectiveness of these tasks and the areas of improvement, and also checking for downtime, and also maintaining overall system efficiency. So this is just for you to check the performance of your entire system. And this can be done through the data you acquire during the week, over the month, on which is really costing me more, and how many downtime have I had on a particular unit, how much have I spent on cost of repair, cost of maintenance. All these things are things we need to get handy whenever we are working on our assets as per maintenance. So this is the concluding module. I know our time is fast spent, but we'll just go through, we'll get the basics of what it means to decommission and dispose. Because of sometimes some assets could be decommissioned and used somewhere else, some could be decommissioned and disposed. But what are the factors? Should I repair or replace? These are critical things which we'll be looking at. And comprehensive assessment is just like we have our facility conditioner assessment, but this time now is on our equipment itself, right? There we're able to take performance measurements, maintenance review, safety protocols. We need to check the wear and tear of that particular asset to know the condition of that asset, and then we can really have a detailed information about it. And when we build up this assessment, we should have pictures, so that whenever it's always advised that you have pictures. I know as facilities manager, we have tons of pictures on our phones, right? So these are times we need to use images while communicating with either the clients or the stakeholders as per the condition of that particular asset. It's always key. And these are what we should always put in that report. The equipment identification, does it have the tag number? What are the specifications, the general equipment information, visual inspection, the functional assessment. We talk about the performance evaluation. Is it still working to effectiveness? Maintenance and service history. Is it really costing us more? What is the safety compliance, and also photograph evidence of that asset? So this is just a cost benefit analysis of should I repair or replace, right? If I'm spending more on an asset, I'm almost the cost of repair is almost me getting a new one. Should I continue repairing, or I should just replace it? So these are questions we need to ask ourselves. What are the requirements for we repairing an asset or replacing it? This is just a summary of how it is, but there's a curve that talks more about if really we should repair an asset or replace it. So which is based on two factors: the repair costs and also the equipment age. So if I've been using a particular asset for maybe 10, 15 years, and I'm always repairing, and I feel the cost is much. So this can be calibrated as per the equipment age in years, and also the equipment costs maybe in intervals of maybe 500,000. Then when you now draw the margin, and you can see should I repair or I should replace. But there's an analysis of we having those options of either repair or replace. First, the age of asset, which was saying the severity of the issue, the availability of the spare parts. If it's not available, why should I even get that asset, or why should I continue modifying just to repair? The future need of that asset, and also the environmental impact of that asset. And this is where we should always think deep. Cost of repair is the cost of repair significantly less than the cost of replacement, especially if the asset is relatively new or old value. Then I can choose to repair because of the asset is still new and the cost of repair is not that high. Then I think I need to repair. But imagine if the cost of repair is high and the item is outdated, and the issue is critically impacting on functionality, or is impacting negatively on the business, then I'm certain I need to replace. This is simple with many of us who use Samsung's phone, and probably it goes bad and the cost of repair is way high. In fact, we'll just leave the phone at one end. We won't even go back to that phone again. So it's we just evaluating the risks and also the parameters as per if I should repair a particular asset or I should just replace it. So that's why instead of you getting to this phase, it's always good for us to have these factors, right? Availability of spares is always very important. Future needs is always very. What is the severity of issues that will come up? Do we have local partners that can always work on those units? What is their service rate? So these are things we need to think while having an asset, and when it comes to either we should repair or replace that asset. And we'll be talking about retirement, which to me, I would say it comes with the main phase is documentation. I know we've talked about asset retirement, right? The information of that asset, the planning and assessment, the data management, that is every data involved in that asset, right? You've always kept data, that asset, the operation data, the maintenance data, and everything to it. It's being collated, right? And the decommissioning process, the cost attached to it, what is being involved. Should you decommission and use somewhere else, or should you decommission and dispose? Should you recycle it? What is the cost benefit to that? If we are recycling it, what are we? What value is it giving in return? Or what is it having in on it? So all these things I think you need to think. But with all this, what key phase is that documentation and accounting, right? Because of that is what management wants to hear, right? Documentation as per what you be presenting them as per that asset you are retiring. Then the accounting, what is the life cycle cost attached to it as per uh, what benefits, what return on investment are that asset giving to us, and now we are disposing it. How can you phantom for we getting a new one, and if it served its purpose during the entire time? So that's why I say it's very important. Documentation is key, and also the accounting to it as per the financial cost benefit to that particular asset. And that's just IT. So the conclusion gives a summary of what we've all discussed, and it's a summary of what we've take with respect to building lifecycle management. We understand that it's a comprehensive system to manage building operation, maintenance, and performance optimization, cost analysis, and sustainability strategies. And we've talked about the life cycle costing. So it's an effective way to evaluate the total cost of ownership, right, of that particular asset or building. So it's not about just getting an asset, but what's the total cost of it, the operational cost, the maintenance cost, the recurring costs, all these things, the servicing costs, and also the recurring costs as per if I'm to dispose of all these things. So we should always find the appreciation value of that asset. So these are the life cycle costing of our what we should always keep in mind. And it's always good for us to have good operation and maintenance program. It really helps because of it involves and agreed structures, procedures to make sure that a building operates effectively during its time of process, that is during an entire process time. And during the commissioning, we should always think of this particular asset, the need of a cost benefit analysis. If really that asset has given us good benefit, right? If it's a win to win benefit, or if the asset is good for us to dispose and it has served its purpose, right? And we should analyze the asset runtime data, that is all the data collected from that asset, its maintenance data, operational data, its ownership data. We should always collect them, and we should always use it to make good decisions when we are about to dispose them. So that when disposing them, the figure fixed on it should also be compared with the current market price, right? The value of it, and see that it would always serve us whenever there's returns on it financially. We could always get a new model or a total replacement. So when thinking of repair and replacement, so there are those factors, right? The age of that asset and the cost of repair or the cost of that deferred maintenance. So should I repair, or it's best I just replace? So it's always good for us to have this in mind as facilities manager while working on our facilities, on our sites. We should understand what building life cycle management is. It's very, very key, and it comes with a lot of strategies, right? It comes with a lot of documentations, with a lot of processes. As long as we get this right, then we are certain that we'll continue to manage our buildings effectively. Then we have our assessment. So thank you very much. I know it has been a lot of talking and explanation, but I would open the floor to questions, please, because of our time, please. I'm coming. Okay. Okay, please. So please, should you have questions? Because of our time, I know we're probably in transit or still at work or maybe at home, but we're open for questions.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
And thank you for that very elaborate lecture. Unfortunately for me, I was on the road, so there was an off and on thing going on with me. So I did
Okay.
not really get the entire. I will listen to it again, but I just want to ask, what is the distinct difference between the testing and the commissioning?
Okay. Okay. Yes, thank you very much. And so testing and commissioning, they work together, right? You would always say testing and commissioning, but we need to understand the distinct difference. First, testing is about to check for functionality. So we have different, for instance, now in a project or contract that has been approved, and those machineries or building fixtures have been installed, right? But most of them comes in with probably defaults, errors, and also maybe manufacturer error. But to really confirm, right, you need to check for the functionality of those assets. So if it's a DB, to check that yes, the circuit breakers are fine, the master breakers are fine. You need to check for the function of those installed equipment. That yes, it's working, right? And when checking, you need to it comes with data as per the data that has been put in, and when you turn those assets on, it gives feedback, right? What did you observe? What is the voltage that is powering that particular asset, right? And also, did you find any fault? So all those informations are things you just get. You're only testing that unit that yes, you are testing as per to check for the functionality of that asset. But when you commission, it's a different one because now you are commissioning to make sure that that asset that has been installed is serving its purpose. At times, you install assets that are not serving its purpose due to maybe installation error, right? The asset itself are fine, they are working, but installation error on installing that asset in a wrong position could be a problem. And that's what commission is all about. So make sure that you are confirming that that satisfactory check is there, is serving its purpose. Then you can now say, yes, you are commissioning. And that's just the difference. Testing is all about to test for functioning of that asset, but commissioning is about to make sure that that asset you just tested is serving its purpose. Is the process fine? So that's just what it's all about. And that's how they work together, but that's just the difference.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. Yes, Mr. Daniel.
All right. Thank you very much, sir, for
Yes,
this in-depth lecture today. I have two questions.
okay.
Still on the testing and commissioning phase of the life cycle. During the commissioning stage, as an FM, for example, you have a genset that is being installed to carry the capacity of 2,000 kVA. Then
Okay.
during the day of the commissioning, you don't have the load aside that can reach 2,000 kVA. Should you go ahead with the commissioning or you should postpone it?
Yeah, I think that commissioning needs to be stopped. Yes. And that's why it's always advised one parties, we understanding our sites. It's always good to have a load test analysis, our load on our sites. And when we advise management, for instance, now you said 200 kVA, right? Uh, yes. So we need to factor in if our load exceeds 200 kVA, right? Or if it's below it. And that's one thing about energy management. I always advise people. At times you'll call in big contractors to come do your load audits. It's fine. It's good. They bring in data loggers and all that. But in-house, we can do our load audit manually. It could be time consuming, but it's good for us to have those information. It's just for you to just walk around every asset. That's why it's always good for you to have asset register. uh, every asset on site. But this can only work for a small scale business or a small scale organization. Not like high-rise buildings. It's fine for you to get a data logger that could monitor those load usage over time. Maybe it's always done maybe 5 to 7 days, right? But it's always good for us to know our load consumption. There are some manual approach to it, right? Some key assets that are load consuming, try to get their specification on their kilowatts. Most of them are always in watt, like the 18-watt bulb and all that. You just need to just do is to divide through by 1,000, then you can get 0.018 kilowatt. So the total kilowatt of your facility, if you can get the total kilowatt of your facility totalizer, all you need to just do is just divide by 0.8. You can get the kVA. Division by 0.8 gives you the kVA, right? Then if you've gotten a kVA, always do a variation of maybe 5 to 10%. Should there be any added load, future expansion, right? So if I've done all the calculation, I'm getting maybe 120 kVA, then okay, I'm good to have a 200 kVA generator or a 175 kVA generator as per the budget for that particular purchase. So if they're about to load things and they're about to test that generator, the other might be tested and they want to commission, and you're turning off all the appliances on all the assets, and you're seeing it's for a 250 kVA generator or 200 kVA generator, already seeing 180 kVA or maybe 190 kVA, then that generator is not serving its purpose because of there's no room for future expansion, and you can probably just break down that generator. So it's always good for you to have a load test analysis, energy audits to get the power consumption of your particular society, the load there, so that it can be able for you to envisage while having a power solution to that site. So that's just the best approach.
All right, thank you very much. The second question is during the life cycle costing.
Yeah.
One of the things that will be required is that the data of an asset. Now, for example, you doing a life cost cycle of a vehicle. And
Yeah.
one of the information that is required so much in vehicle is the kilometer running. And a particular vehicle who has not, you never knew that our meter has not been working for over a year, and which is one of the information. So how do you manage this inaccuracy data during the life?
Yeah, so in situations like that with fleets, it's always good for you to run a predictive check on that vehicle. They always have this monitoring device where they run a complete scan, right? And at times you pay for that, but you could know as facilities manager, we're always skilled with tactics. So you can skill or tactfully let them know, okay, we want to have a servicing contract with you and want you to check our fleet to have full information on it. And we hope to have a contract with you. However, you could be on the other hand having such a discussion with your management. But as FM, we could always take that proactive step to meet with vendors or consultants in that regard. That is, let them have a predictive check on that particular fleet. You understand? So they run a diagnosis on that fleet. Everything comes out. The mileage comes out. Every issue with that particular fleet, that vehicle, it comes out, right? So, but it's the tactics behind it is how can you get them do it, if not for free, but almost for free, right? So it's our relationship with our vendors, relationship with our top management, and also relationship with our subordinates. So if you have any, because of they have connections and network on how we can get this done. You understand? So that's just IT. So you have to run a predictive check on that fleet. You have to run a predictive. It gives you the total information on that particular engine, the particular complete system, its mileage.
All right, thank you very much. Good.
All right. Okay, so I don't even have more questions. Okay, so it's in conclusion, I would just advise everyone to still go through the slides and also the video recording too. And there are always 5 important skills I always advise everyone to have to effectively manage their building, respect to building lifecycle management. It's always based on 5. And that's why, yes, people will say technical, you need to be technical, but it comes in the fourth. I start with administrative because you will always be dealing with top management staff and you need to have this administrative skill. The business skill comes next, and the operation skill, then the technical skill. Sustainability is always key. It's coming last, but to me, it's always key because of that's where it all boils down to. Because anything you are introducing should be sustainable, right? But you need to follow through the entire process to make sure that yes, it needs to be sustainable. So it's always good for us to have those 5 skills, the ABOTs: administrative, business, operations, technical, and sustainability. I think I have, and yes, Mr. Ibrahim, please. Yes, can you unmute and speak up? Okay.
Uh, thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
My question is about the operation and maintenance.
Yes, please.
Yeah. The question is, how can we optimize maintenance strategies to balance the cost efficiency and asset reliability and the occupant satisfaction? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. You made mention of occupants. Yes, so we'll take it step by step. First, you can't maintain what you don't know, and you can't understand your site if you can't maintain a site you don't understand. So it's always together. Operation and maintenance are always together. I would always advise facilities managers to understand the art of their facility, right? Management working around is always key. And with that, you can only know some of those snacks. But respect to maintenance, right? Uh, the first approach is having an asset register. From your asset register is a compilation of every asset on site, even wall sockets, light bulb, the furniture table, the cabinet, the light switch, the HVAC system, everything, anything leads to, as long as even the water dispensers, right? Even the flower vase, every asset on site should be in record. It should be documented, and that can only be done with the asset register. From your asset register, which is categorized as per the location, as per the office space, then you can now then you can now say, okay, which strategy should I use? Should I use a reactive strategy, or I should use a PPM strategy? Right? There are some units that require PPM, complete PPM. You don't need to be reactive as per when it goes bad and you now want to quickly change. No. There are some, and that is always based on the organization policy and objective. Some organizations look like, just like I said, even light bulb is still working, but they still want you to change it after a certain period of time. Why? Because they feel that this is the strategy they want to put. So with your budgeting and with the organization strategy as per their policy and their objective, then you can now know which strategy you should put in place. But this is a practical sense which I always help people understand with respect to operations on site. Uh, you need to understand how your asset works day to day. You need to always have feedback information, live data. So work with your officers, work with your technicians on live data. They should not wait until you call or wait till every Monday, then that's when they give reports. We should always work with live data. And one thing again is whenever there's a repair or maintenance done, please don't discard all. Yes, don't discard all. There should be evidences that this was done. So when you send an email for requisition, you also send an email for what? Purchase, right? You send an email for job completion. All these things are attached with images. This will help build that confidence and trust and transparency while working with your organization. And when working with repair and maintenance, don't discard all. Always check for some that are still functional inside what has gone bad. So that whenever there's an urgent repair, you can always take a part from there and replace. And that will reduce cost. Just like I said, the LED light panel bulb, some could be the choke, some could be the panel itself. So instead of you spending 4,500 to change a complete set, when you know you can only spend 1,000 naira just to change the choke, and yet the bulb is back on. So that's the strategies you put in place to make sure that your KPIs are fine and you're always getting things done with respect to operations and maintenance. So whenever there is need to renew maintenance contract, don't send it when it has expired. Have your maintenance log. Yes, your maintenance log is very important so that you can always check and know when you need to send um, for renewal. So these are all proactive steps you could always take. And this is always based on documentations. Documentation as per your maintenance log, documentation as per your deferred maintenance, things that are pending, how you need to resolve them. And also as per your PPM to your plan to make sure that you get this done, even if it is what it has been pending for a while, but it needs to be done at such a period of time. So it's always good for us to be proactive as facility managers, to always work with documentation and processes, then I'm certain our operations will go smoothly with good communication, live data. I'm certain our communication will go smoothly and it's always good. I think Mr. Innocent was raising up his hand. I think the network pulled him out. But I don't know if we all learned from that, please. And because I know we are all learning from questions being raised, please. And in case you have any questions as far as site operations, challenges, difficulties, please always share it. So we are all learning together so that we can always get the best out of it. I don't know if we should wait for Mr. Innocent to be back, but please, to the moderator, so in case you have any questions after this class session, please always feel free to share with the um, always share with Max-Migold. I think Miracle is not on the call, but always feel free to share with her, please. She would always direct me to me, and I'll always respond, and that's always key. So in case you have any questions, always feel free to share with her, and I'm certain I will respond to that. And I think that's just it. And I'm certain she will also share to the group too some of these process documents. Please kindly modify to, okay, Innocent is back. Please kindly modify to suit your site operations. Yes, that's what really counts, those process documentations. Yeah. Mr. Innocent, welcome. I think we'll just have to take you a while before we close off for the class, please. I don't know if you're hearing me.
Yes.
Okay, please. You answer well before the network knocked you out.
I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, your answer. Oh, please. I don't know if you still have any more.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, do you have any more? Yeah, I can hear you, please. I can hear you.
It's on the BIM, Building Information Modeling.
Yeah.
When you were trying to explain on that BIM, based on your statement, you were trying to make us understand that it is expert based. I want to ask, is there any way a facility manager can get to be acquainted to this modeling as to aid him or her in his facility management processes?
Okay. Yeah, so that is possible if we have the right network and space to work with that, right? So we might be limited to operations that they use BIM, that is the BIM. There are some site operations that's what they work with, some high level clients and some organizations with massive technology. Yes. So, but that's part of the challenges and limitations. These are always limited um, within our space, right? But with networking, you can always find those that works with BIM. Then you can always ask them questions. You may not be a pro in designing a BIM, that is in designing those visualizations, because of it works with cloud base. You can always interact with different professionals across the world, right? But part of the challenges and limitation is access to them. These tools are very expensive, and some organizations today feel it's too expensive for them to dive into, right? So they choose not to go through the BIM route, right? But it's just a way of visualization, just like we have different tools for visualization. It's just an advanced form of visualization, and not just an advanced form alone. The interactiveness is not just based locally, but based internationally across the world. So for now, we are still struggling with IoTs, AIs, and we are trying to get that technological part of it, right? But we are certain that with time, there could also be a breakthrough for BIM so that it will be rampant uh, across the world, even here in Africa or West Africa. But there are still some locations that works with BIM. It's just for us to find out those experts, and that's why networking is key. You could probably go on LinkedIn and search BIM. I think that is what I would do. I try to take some courses on it, but is still pending. But I think one step is to go on LinkedIn and search BIM. There could be some professionals that have worked with BIM, they are good with the tools. Then we can now grow our network with them so that they can introduce us to how they also learned it, right? And they could also give us some free tool. Some are expensive, or most are expensive, but there's possibility that there are free tool that we can use to understand how BIM works. And we can also watch on YouTube on what exactly how each of those function of those two works. But believe me, it's just for you to search for a professional that has worked with BIM, that has the tool, right? And we might not get a local partner, but we could surely get someone that has worked on it, probably on some high-end projects, some high-profile project. Could be maybe World Bank project, and they needed that BIM for their own presentation. Sure, you get. So from there, you can now tap from their network, and they can now give you glimpse of how it is. But it all ends on designing one, right? And that designing cannot just be on you watching videos. It needs to be tutored by an expert, and that's just how it works.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Sir, one more
Um,
thing. I have a second question.
Okay.
The second one is on the building life cycle, the stages slash phases of building life cycle, especially
Okay.
on the construction stage.
Okay.
Let's assume we are developing a facility, and on this facility, we have a project manager in that facility. How can the project manager and the facility manager synergize in ensuring that this project, come to fusion? How
Okay.
can they both work together
Yeah.
to
Thanks so
come up
much.
with? Uh,
Yeah. I get you. It's always not easy to work with intra-professionals, right? At times you look like, okay, you come here to collect my work, but or you want
yes,
to teach me what I am to do. But there's one thing
yes,
in facility management, managing people. You need to always find a way to manage people, and it comes with good relationship. You need to really know what works best for them. You need to create an ambient environment that allows you guys to work together. It's always not easy. He's doing his project, right? And you're also coming up with like, no, this is not supposed to be done. This is no. But it starts with, if you notice from key things that FM does during the construction, is that they have management meetings, right? So from those management meetings, those pep talks, those contract meetings, by then you'll have developed a cordial relationship with them so that whenever projects are ongoing, you could always align with them. Should you not be at the initial stage of those meetings on site, you should not talk about the project. These are just practical ways. You should not even talk about the project. Talk about something different, something simple. Try to have that relationship with him. You understand? Maybe the first 1 week. Don't even about the project. You just come to site. Oh, you guys are working. Wow, how is work? It's fine and all good. Don't talk about the project, right? But you are taking your record and you're documenting them. Then you've built a relationship with him. Then maybe the following week, then you can now start discussing it gradually on how you can help him, right? Let him see reasons. Let him see. And one thing is that we can allow people to see why we are imputing is we give them reasons, right? We give them consequences that could come up, and also let them know, okay, these are options. I've worked on this side. These are possible options. We could have this change. So that is just how it works. You need to build good relationship with your colleagues in office and also contractors. It's not easy to manage vendors. In fact, managing vendors is another 7 unit course. Let me put it that way, especially how it is now. But you need to build that good relationship with them. You need to communicate effectively, right? You need to save each other's job. When you do like this, then you can always try to bend and make sure that those reforms are effective, and he would always see your input over time. So that's just the practical step you could take, and you can also improve on that. So,
thank you, sir.
all right, boss. Thank you so much. Sorry for the time fast spent. I'm so sorry for that, but certainly we all enjoyed the class, and I'm glad to have everyone here. It's a big privilege and honor, and I still remain Udwa Kudo, and hopefully we could always meet one day. We could also share more experiences and also see each other. So thank you very much. In the absence of any question, I would like to close the class.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Oduak. That was a lovely class. I'm sure everyone enjoyed it because I did myself. All right, so I thank you all for joining today's section and see you all next tomorrow. Please do well to complete your assessment and don't forget about the feedback survey. And God bless you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.